Now we're like getting to the point where James is doing like vocals and starting to do a lot of the stuff that colors up all the music, and that's when it gets really exciting again. Now it's like I can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel.
North Hollywood, like, does that add something to the music or what?
It takes away from it.
Does it really?
No, I mean, it's just like we just never wanted to do a record at home in San Francisco, and the earlier, like, Lightning and Puppets were made overseas because of, like, financial reasons and stuff like that. But the Justice album, we thought we'd, you know, make that closer to home. Then, like I said, we didn't even want to be in San Francisco, but L.A., you know, an hour away, you can go home, and there's just, you know, it's cool in LA because there's like, when you're in the studio, you want to be able to, at least we do, we want to be able to sort of be able to get away from it.
Right, right.
And there's a lot of places you can go get away from recording in LA.
You like the area?
No.
No?
It's too easy to have fun here.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Have you been having fun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Well, most of the fun I've had is when some of my buddies come down from up north. So, you know, I just try and keep it to a minimum.
Right on.
A few beverages on the weekend.
I get this feeling that, as far as this record goes, you are here a lot. You
I'm here all the time.
Me
and James are basically here all the time. That's the way it's always been. Kirk and Jason just kind of stay at home and come in when they do their parts. But I'm here all the time. Probably more than anybody wants me to do. Go home!
Well, you took a different approach to putting this record together. I mean, when I was reading about you guys would make these riff tapes and stuff and pass them around the band. Now you're writing songs in a different way. Is that right?
Yeah, I think actually the initial part of the songwriting is pretty much the same. You know, everybody has their tapes, you know, with the bits and pieces from the last couple of years, and you know, we just sit there, and me and James sit and shift through it, you know, for a couple of days and whatever, and just take the best pieces and kind of make it into songs.
Nothing is real but pain now. Oh, my breath is out, I wish you were dead. Oh, please, God, with me.
At what point do the lyrics, do you sit down and say, okay, here's what it's about, here's the words?
It's a riff and a song title, pretty much. Kind of get them together. Kind of go through all the riff tapes, see how many good riffs we got, and this time there was quite a few. Especially since we were doing the more simpler tunes. Like, one of the songs is like 2 riffs in the whole song. There's different singing over it, which is pretty cool. So we, you know, had a lot more material, and it's basically a riff and a song title, and we kind of find out how we want the lyrics to kind of fit in with how the music's going to go, if it's going to be a crusher or, you know, a nice little song. Or
The difference this time is that instead of taking, you know, like 5 riffs and cramming them all into one song, now most of the songs only really have like 1 or 2 riffs in it, so it's a little more, just kind of sticks more to one thing.
We always try to write short songs, it seems like, but we actually did it this time.
The Ride the Lightning album to Master Puppets to Injustice for All were all different albums from each other, but kind of in the same direction. And I think this album just kind of took like a sharp turn, and it's just, like I said, we wanted to for a couple of years to do something a bit different, but it just seemed like last time we kind of just got stuck in the same rut again, and this time we really did make the songs a bit shorter and a bit more compact and a bit sort of just more to the point. It just, I don't know, I think, at least for me, sometime in the middle of the last tour, it just got really boring live playing some of these like 10-minute songs that were so progressive that you always had to sit there and like think about, you know, okay, this great big drum roll's coming up, or, you know, this tempo change or whatever. It just, I found that, you know, the stuff that I was more into playing live was some of the simpler stuff that was more kind of groove, you know, some of the stuff like Seek and Destroy or For Whom the Bell Tolls or that kind of stuff from our earlier albums, and it just seemed like to get back to that kind of thing now would be pretty cool.
We're standing the city tonight. We're looking for you to start up a flame. There's an evil feeling in our brain.
How'd you guys get to work with Bob?
Bob forced himself upon us. No, actually, we've not really been too happy with any of the mixes on the last 3 albums, and we're sitting there when we started writing the songs last summer, you know, who should we get to mix this record? Because we thought, you know, we'd made the last 3 albums with Fleming Rasmussen, and we didn't see any reason why we shouldn't make this one with him. So we're sitting there talking about who we should get to mix it, and we thought one of the best sounding records the last couple of years was the Motley Crue album that he made, Dr. Feelgood. It seemed that he had the ability to make like the best Motley Crue album, and the Bon Jovi album that he was involved with was like the best Bon Jovi album. It's like he seemed to be able to just make, you know, bring out the best in whatever bands he was working with. We had our manager call him up and say, you know, you're interested in mixing this record? And he said, yeah, but I'd also really like to produce it if they're interested.
Yeah, they approached me to mix, and I said that, sure, but I'd like to work with them through the whole album if they were into it. And I think something like that. And you guys kind of phoned back and said, well, maybe.
Yeah. Like I told you, we were like,
maybe, and then
Peter called up and said, he wants to produce you too. I'm like, yeah, sure. We're Metallica, nobody produces us. Nobody tells us what to do. And then after a while, like, kind of got the guard down a little bit and said, well, maybe we should go hang with this guy a little bit. So we did. Me and James flew up and talked to him up in Vancouver, and we sat there and told him what we didn't like about our last couple of records, and he sat there. And it was really incredible because he had been and seen us play live at the, what's it called, the PNE up here? Yeah. And he like knew all about our records and stuff like that, which was really cool. So he sat there and said what he thought about how we were live and how we really didn't get that across on record and stuff like that. And it was like, we were just sitting there telling each other the same thing. And it's like, well, maybe this really could work. Plus, I mean, just he's so famous in Canada. I mean, when we came up there, it was like, the first night we went out together, went to this establishment for a couple of beverages, and we're just sitting there, and I could kind of like out the corner of my eye see like a couple of kids coming over, like, you know, pens and pieces of paper, and so, you know, okay, sign a couple autographs, and they just come over, completely ignore me and James, just, oh, Bob Rock, oh, wow, I can't believe I'm meeting you, would you sign these autographs, please? And then when Bob had signed the autographs, they just turned around and left. And it was like, me and James didn't even exist. Me and James sat there and looked at each other like, what? It's like, this guy's really famous up here, maybe we should hang with him, you know?
Actually, when I went to see the Cult in Vancouver, they were warming up for Metallica. And when I saw the kids and I saw the band live, I had heard Justice and stuff, and the power of the band live was what I thought they were really lacking in terms of their record. I thought they were really quite cool live.
You know, one of the things we wanted to get away from, which is one of the first things we told Bob, is we wanted the albums to be a little livelier. You know, I think our last couple of records have been really kind of sterile and really, they've been so tight and so perfect and so just on and right that I think it lost a little bit of the kind of attitude along the way. And this time around, we really wanted to go for something that was like a little livelier and had a little more attitude and a little more just life in it. And the way that we went about doing this was that instead of like playing the song once or twice and you sit there and go, gee, you know, now the red record button's on and you start stiffening up and you get really tense and it sounds like that. It's like Bob said, go out and play the song 30 times basically. So we'd sit here and play this song, everybody would be in the room here behind me and I'd sit here and play the song 30 times and by say maybe take 10, I would forget that I'm in a recording studio and I would like be on a stage in an arena and then you take your mental and you just sort of, remove yourself from the studio and then you get really loose and that comes across.
Bob's really cool to work with vocally. I've never really, before it's always, I've doubled all my vocals so didn't really have room to kind of, just go nuts on this part or, because I'd always have to double it and it'd have to be precise. So this time we're going for more of a raw kind of, I'll just go 6 different tracks, 6 different passes, get nuttier here, he'll, go up here, try this part, and it's really easy and nice. It's
so
like
how
almost...
how do you like this off-the-floor kind of recording?
Cool.
Yeah?
I love it. It's almost fun.
Something's wrong, something like heavy thoughts tonight, and the honest the way.
Need to breathe.
Yeah, it's better when you don't breathe.
It's better when you don't breathe.
It's got a little more anxiety to it.
Let's don't do a yeah. A yeah at the end. Do something else. Woman. All right. Okay. Child. Fire woman. Here we go.
Something's wrong, something like heavy thoughts tonight, and the honest the way. Dreams of war, dreams of lies, dreams of dragons fire, and of things that will bite. Woman.
That's kind of how I approach vocals anyway, is like really just taking performances and getting lots of performances and making them relax and stuff. Because recording is, a lot of bands, when they first have an experience in the studio, it's like one of shock. And if you get a bad experience, if you get somebody that teaches you a certain way to record, you're kind of stuck with it until somebody else comes along and says, oh, guys, you got it all wrong. You all play in the studio together, you know what I mean? And you don't have to have anxiety about doing lead vocals. So James, we've already sang 3 songs, right? And like in terms of lead vocals, and they may in the end not be the vocals we're going to keep, but at least he's got a start at it rather than waiting till the end of it and then he's got 2 weeks to sing all the vocals that are the most important thing in his life.
It's like we've been very stuck in the same kind of rut for the last 3 albums. I mean, with Fleming, we were very comfortable with it, but it was very much sort of one way, and every album we would just go in and duplicate what we did the last time in terms of the process. And like, what Bob's saying may sound a little silly. It's like you guys can actually be in the same room together, but it's like, it was sort of like, it's like sort of starting over kind of a thing and just getting away from what you've done and been stuck in before.
A lot of people have this attitude that